President Trump hits the pause button on his threat to impose a new 50% tariff on imports coming into the United States from Canada. It was set to take effect today and would have impacted about $20 billion worth of imports, including dairy, alcohol, furniture, and clothing. To unpack all of this, let's go live to CNN economics reporter Elizabeth Buchwald, who's joining us from New York. Elizabeth, this is significant. What does this pause mean for any deal between these two countries that supposedly are such strong allies?
Yeah, well, it's a classic thing that we've seen over the past year and a half, these really 11th hour announcements. And right now we're getting 3 extra days of breathing room here. And it's not necessarily going to be good or bad. We don't know yet, but it seems like there's a lot on the table. Trump was talking about the Keystone XL pipeline. Remains unclear what's happening there, but it does seem like there is some room for things to improve a bit. And this is all happening in the context of the broader U.S., Mexico, Canada trade agreement that's up for renegotiation. So it does seem like if there's going to be a deal on Canada's part especially, they're going to want to cement it in for good and not just have these back and forths with 3 days here, a month there.
So products coming into the United States from Canada, the price for American consumers are going to go up and up and up. Elizabeth Buchwald, thank you very, very much.
Yeah, we had a very good conversation with the Prime Minister last night, and we've come to a deal with Canada. As you know, the 50% tariffs across the board were going on against Canada today, and they called yesterday and they gave us the points that we had to have. Very fair deal for both. The tariffs will be non-existent for our farmers. Our farmers were paying tremendous tariffs into Canada, and those tariffs are going to be totally eviscerated, down to zero.
Is the U.S. going to lower tariffs on Canadian autos or lumber?
We're doing certain things. Got to give something, and we're doing certain things. They were paying a high number. We're reducing it a little bit. It's good for everybody. But our farmers are going to be thrilled. Our manufacturers are going to be thrilled. And basically, we have no tariffs going into Canada anymore. Canada was charging us tremendous tariffs. We no longer have any tariffs.
All right, for more on The View from Canada right now, I want to bring in the former Quebec Premier, Jean Charest. Jean Charest, thanks so much for joining us. Welcome back to our show. First off, what's your reaction to what we just heard from President Trump?
Well, we made a lot of progress in the last few weeks in negotiations. We re-engaged after the president announced a new series of tariffs, invoking an old piece of Smoot-Hawley legislation, Section 338. And both the Prime Minister Carney and President Trump decided to re-engage. We've been at the table, we've been talking, and that in itself is good news. Canada wants a few things. We do not want these new tariffs to come into play. We also want the American side to reduce the tariffs under the 232s. Those are the tariffs of 50% on steel and aluminum, tariffs on cars, tariff on softwood lumber in particular. And on the American side, Wolf, the administration has been telling us that they want to revisit the quota allocation for milk that was negotiated by President Trump the last time, because the American side's not filling its quota. And I think there's maneuvering room for us to talk. We had imposed counter tariffs on cars. They want that to go away. But they also, on the American side, want the provinces in Canada to put American booze back on the shelves. You may remember at the very beginning of this tariff story, the Canadian governments, the provincial governments who run the liquor stores in Canada took American booze off the shelves. It's their decision whether to put it back on or not. And that was also part of what the American side was asking us to do. And once we do all that, by the way, then we have to get down to talking about how we pursue our negotiations on CUSMA in general, which we hope to deal with as rapidly as possible.
You're a key member of the Prime Minister Mark Carney's Advisory Committee on Canada-U.S. Economic Relations. Have you heard anything this morning from the Prime Minister?
Well, we found out this morning that our minister who's responsible, his name is Dominique Leblanc, was meeting with Jameson Greer this morning at 11:15. These new tariffs were supposed to come into place on midnight last night. There's a 3-day pause so that we can finish off the negotiations. Expect both sides to be very careful on what they'll be saying. No one wants to derail what looks like a possible deal. And if we do get an agreement, what it'll give both sides is just more certainty. And there's no one. By the way, Wolf, in the United States, the business community, there's no one out there who's saying let's undo CUSMA. They're very supportive of the business and trade relationship with Canada, including doing away with tariffs. We understand the president's position. He's made it very clear. We get that. But we want an agreement that is going to be good for both sides. I will give you one example: aluminum. It does not make sense for the American side to tariff aluminum. We send 2.7 million tons a year. Aluminum is made of 40% of it is made of energy. We export to the United States the equivalent of 5 Hoover dams worth of energy when we export clean aluminum, green aluminum. And you need that, and with what's happening in the Detroit Overmore. More. So there's a good example of where tariffs are not working for the American side and where we should take them off. Same thing for autos, where markets are very integrated.
Very quickly, before I let you go, Premier, a lot of stories coming out that Canadians are so angry at the United States right now that they're basically refusing to buy U.S. imported products into Canada, like Kentucky bourbon, for example, and they're refusing to even come to the United States to go to Florida, for example, because they're irritated with the U.S. How significant is that?
There's no one in the federal government saying to Canadians not to go to the United States or to not buy American booze, though the provinces took it off the shelves. Canadians are reacting to a situation where they're challenged by the American administration. But the perspective on this, Wolf, that Canadians say to themselves, well, we need to buy more Canadian. It's not that we're hostile to the United States. We want to buy more Canadian products, which is exactly what you want your American citizens to do with American products. So that's the dynamic it's created. But let's get beyond this trade conflict that we have. And if we do, we're going to return to a relationship where Canada and the United States have one of the best relationships in the world. And we support each other's economy. We're more efficient. We're more productive together. And that's what we want. We want to have a relationship that is going to be good for the American side and good for the Canadian side.
And let's hope that happens. The former Quebec Premier, Jean Charest, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it very, very much.
Just before new tariffs on Canadian goods were scheduled to take effect at 12:01 a.m. overnight, President Trump hit pause, saying on social media that the threatened tariff hit was pushed off for at least 3 days, as he claimed the United States and Canada had reached a deal. The response from the Canadian Prime Minister, slightly less confident that a deal was at hand, saying in part, quote, there is important work still to be done. The tariffs on Canada would have been a 50% tariff on some $20 billion worth of goods, covering everything from dairy products and alcohol to furniture and more, about 5% of Canadian exports to the United States. This morning, U.S. alcohol producers, for one, are really hoping the progress of these talks is real. A Canadian boycott has hit the industry very hard. A leading industry group noted overnight these bans have caused exports of American spirits to drop by more than 70%. Joining me right now is Justin Wolfers, an economics professor at the University of Michigan. It's good to see you again, Justin. Thanks for being here. If this set of tariffs would go into effect, what do you think the impact would be? How would you rate the success of Trump's, I guess we'll continue to call it a trade war, trade tension with Canada to this point?
Mate, calling it a trade tension. I've got a friend who's getting divorced right now, and she calls that tensions. Look, actually, I want to congratulate the president because we do have a deal. We have a deal with Canada. It was called NAFTA. The president ripped that up and he renegotiated it and called it the USMCA. The United States literally has a free trade deal with Canada. Both sides have signed it. It's existing law in both countries. What's happened instead is that the president has decided that what he wants to do is up the ante and engage in a whole bunch of melodramatics, which doesn't look like it's going to achieve very much. He's threatened our free trade partner, one of our closest trading partners and allies, with 50% across the board tariffs. They've come back and they've said, no, we have a free trade agreement. We would like a free trade agreement. And there's all these negotiations that are going on, which are basically how much closer to our existing agreement are we going to get back to?
Does this give him leverage over the renegotiations over NAFTA, USMCA, whatever we're going to call it now?
I mean, we can give it a different name every week. It's terrific. Not really. Here's the problem. If I came to you, Kate, having been married 7 times and been in 7 different relationships and having cheated on each of those 7 past wives, and I said, Kate, will you marry me? How much would you be willing to give up of your current life to join that marriage with me? The answer is less, because I had shown myself to be an unreliable partner. So you might say, I'm willing to do the stuff with you, Justin, as long as it works for me. But if it doesn't work right away, you know what? I don't really trust your word anymore. So he's narrowed the scope of things that we could possibly strike an agreement or strike a deal with. That's the first point. There's actually a second point. The president declared early on that he wanted Canada to be the 51st state, whether they wanted it or not. To continue the analogy, he's not really that keen on consent. It turns out that's a terrible way to begin a relationship. And the problem in Canada right now is not what the Canadian government's doing, it's what Canadians are doing. Canadians are going to the store and they're picking up products and they're saying, was this made in the United States or not? And if it's made in the United States, they put it back down. So Mark Carney and the Canadian government can sign any number of trade agreements, but you can't change what's in the heart of Canadians right now. They have an expression up there, elbows up, which is they're sick of being bullied. They don't want to be part of this game anymore. And no matter what trade deals get signed, Canadians don't want to spend time in the United States, for instance.
I mean, Justin, you took me on a journey. I also believe I will be calling my husband in this commercial break. But you brought it. You did. We did land the plane. I think we did at the end. You're fascinating.
Sorry.
Thank you so much. No. That was not a criticism. I just didn't know I was going to be proposed to this morning, and I really enjoyed it. With a little dash of a trade war at the same time. It is great to see you. Thank you so much. Let us see what happens in the next 3 days. I really appreciate it, Justin.